Have you ever noticed that certain situations keep repeating in your life? I've seen this very clearly in my own experience. Many things don't just happen once, they happen twice. I go through something for the first time, and then later I find myself in an almost identical situation again. I became aware of this pattern about 2 years ago and started asking myself why it keeps happening, like why similar experiences return almost like an echo, yeah? And at some point, it really stopped feeling like a coincidence and started to feel like a pattern with a particular purpose. Yeah, as if each repetition is giving us another chance to understand something more deeply or to respond differently than before. Hi and welcome to my channel. I'm Lily, and in this video I'll explain how to recognize repeating patterns in your life and how to break them. Understand what repeating patterns are. So what are repeating patterns? Repeating patterns are recurring situations or outcomes that show up in your life over time. They are not permanent truths. They are the result of your previous behavior, especially choices, and also responses. These patterns are not random, yeah? They are rooted in your identity, your beliefs, and your past experiences. That's why a real change doesn't come from external circumstances, but from within, yeah? By becoming aware of these patterns as I did in the past and consciously choosing to shift them, yeah? Where you typically find patterns? Patterns in our behavior. So, in fact, that's where many patterns show up most clearly. Repeating patterns in life are often made up of similar behavioral patterns. How you react, what you choose, what you tolerate, and what you avoid. Yeah? Behavioral patterns include your emotional reactions, decision-making, and ways of interacting with others. Yeah. So, for example, if you consistently avoid conflict, yeah, choose similar types of partners, or procrastinate under pressure, these are all behavioral patterns. Family patterns and patterns in romantic relationships. Another area you typically find repeating patterns is family. Take a closer look at the relationships in your family, especially the marriages of your parents and grandparents. What dynamics do you notice? What keeps repeating? Yeah, ask yourself honestly. Do I want my future relationship or marriage to look like theirs? Very often, patterns are passed down from one generation to the next, and this creates a cycle that continues almost automatically and often without noticing. Yeah, but at some point, that cycle needs to be questioned. Yeah, like you need to identify the pattern and decide whether it's something you want to carry forward or consciously break. Yeah, these patterns can show up in different ways. It might be unhealthy relationship dynamics such as control or even particular abuse, yeah, repeating across generations. Or it can be financial patterns like poor money management, impulsive spending, or constant lack of stability. For instance, if you've seen the film It Ends With Us, it portrays a cycle of physical abuse passed from one generation to the next. Yeah? The main character, Lily, grows up witnessing her father abuse her mother. And later, Lily finds herself in a relationship that mirrors that same dynamic. Yeah? Despite her recognizing the pattern, she initially struggles to break free from it. But then when she finds out that she's pregnant, like everything shifts, yeah, because she realizes that she doesn't want her daughter to go through what she experienced in her childhood. Yeah. So in the end, Lily makes a different choice. She leaves her husband and starts a new life, which means that she breaks the cycle instead of continuing it. Yeah? And that's why awareness is especially crucial here. Once you clearly see the pattern, you can decide, do I want this in my life? Am I willing to accept this kind of relationship or lifestyle? And if the answer is no, then it's your responsibility to step in, make different choices, and break out of that cycle. Following your family pattern, you can spot a pattern in your romantic relationships. Patterns in romantic relationships often reflect deeper beliefs about love, self-worth, and emotional needs. You may notice that even though the people change, the overall dynamic stays similar. For example, the way relationships start, how communication develops over time, or how conflicts are handled can follow a similar script. To give you a real example, a former university friend of mine was in 4 relationships over the 5 years we were friends. And when she spoke to me about her last relationship, I could clearly see the pattern in how the relationships unfolded and especially ended. The situations, the dynamics, and the endings were almost identical each time. Patterns in friendships. Next, you can find repeating patterns in friendships. This often refers to repeated dynamics in how friendships form, develop, and eventually end. It can include the type of people you tend to connect with and the situations that tend to lead to distance or conflict. These patterns aren't about individual events, but about similarities across different friendships over time. And also, when it comes to the end of friendships, it's useful to analyze how they usually end. Who initiates the ending, in what way it happens, ghosting, a direct conversation, or during an argument, and what the underlying reason is. Looking at these details can reveal recurring dynamics that you may not notice at first. I must say that I've observed a repeating pattern in the way several of my friendships have ended. Patterns at school and work. Patterns also show up at school and work. You may notice repeated ways you respond to pressure, deadlines, authority, or group situations. It can be how you handle stress, whether you avoid challenges, or how you communicate with your schoolmates/coworkers, especially when dealing with some issues. And even if the environment changes, similar dynamics can appear again. Recognizing these patterns helps you understand your behavior and make more intentional choices in the future. A pattern and your identity. Keep in mind that your repeating patterns contribute to shaping your identity. They aren't separate from you. They reflect how you think, how you choose, and respond over time. That's why when you want to break a pattern, you need to be aware that it's often connected to your current identity and your old self. In other words, you aren't only changing behavior, you are also stepping out of an old version of yourself. So breaking a pattern is not just about stopping something, it's about consciously starting to change how you see yourself, how you act, and how you respond in similar situations. Patterns teach us something. Each pattern carries a lesson. The patterns that occurred in my past were happening because I needed to experience certain things twice in order to truly understand them, not just on the surface, but on a deeper level. So you need to recognize it. You need to see the pattern clearly and ask yourself, do I really need to experience this situation again? Is it actually working for me? And most of the time, the honest answer is no. That's why you keep finding yourself in the same or very similar situations until something changes, until you change it, until you shift your mindset, your decisions, or your behavior. It's a bit like being at school. If you don't understand something, a good teacher will explain it again and again in different ways until it finally clicks. And in a similar way, the universe keeps presenting you with the same kind of situations until you truly understand the lesson behind them. And additionally, you keep attracting the same situations. The purpose here is the same: to learn, to change, to grow, and move forward in your life. And once you see the pattern clearly, you can choose not to repeat it, but to respond differently and change the outcome. The solution. You need to interrupt patterns through awareness and reflection. Since I've experienced and observed many repeating patterns in my life, I can now recognize them quite easily. And whenever I notice that a situation is the same as in the past or very similar to something I've already experienced, I pause and reflect. I ask myself, do I really want to go through the same experience again? Then I mentally go back to the past situation and ask, what would I have done differently if I could return to that moment? Would I have made the same decision again? Was I truly satisfied with the outcome? Yeah, and usually the answer is no. And that realization gives me clarity. Yeah, it shows me that now in the present moment, when the same pattern appears again, I don't have to repeat the same response. Yeah, I can choose differently. I can act differently. Yeah, and when I do that, the outcome naturally changes as well. Finally, break the pattern. First, it's about learning your lesson. But to break out of a repeating pattern or to overcome the challenges it brings, you often need to step out of your comfort zone and try something new. In some cases, it may even require doing something completely different from what you've done before. Yeah, ask yourself, what did I used to do in the past in this situation? And once you identify it, make a conscious decision. Yeah, that's what I used to do, and now I'm going to respond differently. Yeah. So this shift in decision making and behavior is often how you begin to interrupt the pattern. And at the same time, it's important to change the belief behind the pattern. Like, for example, in romantic relationships, if you strongly believe that no matter how much you give, the relationship will eventually end in a breakup, that belief itself can reinforce the cycle. Yes? So instead, you should start to think in a new way. I can have a healthy, lasting relationship. If I invest in my partner, it can be valued, appreciated, and reciprocated. Yeah. So changing the pattern is not only about changing actions, but also about changing the mindset that creates those actions in the first place. Remember this, as long as you don't change, the pattern won't change on its own. Yeah, it simply won't. Yeah. And very often, victim mindset keeps you stuck in the same cycle because you don't question the pattern, you don't analyze it, and you don't interrupt it. You stay passive instead of taking control, and that's why life keeps presenting you with the same lesson over and over again. So the next time you notice a repeating pattern, don't ignore it. Pause, observe, and ask yourself what it's trying to show you. Yeah, because once you see it clearly, you also gain the power to change it. Thank you so much for watching. If you'd like more content like this, I'd really appreciate it if you subscribed. See you in the next video. Bye!